Ciao Giulio.
Amici. Hi, Chris.
Hey, how you doing?
Good, and you?
Yeah, good. My wife just made some lovely muffins, so I've been stuffing my face before this call.
Okay.
Just
Enjoy.
keep me powered up.
I don't know how many people will attend this meeting, and I don't know how much that we get with. Hi, Tyler.
I think that we can wait, let's say 5 minutes.
Hi, Tyler.
Good morning, everybody. I'm just getting my Zoom set up here.
Yeah.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, good afternoon for our side of the world. Good morning for you.
This is very common for me. I am on a team that's globally distributed, and I'm the only person who's in California. So I'm constantly waking up early to have my early meetings that are going late at night.
Okay.
I think there was quite a bit of interest at last week's call about attending today and having this meeting, right? But there's only the four of us. Maybe give it a couple of minutes. And...
Yeah. Hi, Marsh. Good morning.
Hey, how are you? Good, thanks.
Marsh, you've got the little static symbol showing up. I don't know.
Ooh, what does that mean?
Just quite a lot of static come from you when you're speaking. I don't know if anyone else is getting.
Yeah, I see.
Anyone else
Yes,
getting
it's
that?
yeah, a noise. I don't know. Yes, a buzz. No.
You're on mute now.
I would
Okay, good.
describe it as
Interesting.
your gain is too high. Like the gain on your microphone is cranked up too much.
Ooh, I like that. Great tip. Thanks, Tyler. I'll check.
But now it works. It's fine. Maybe it's auto adjusting the echo in some way. No.
Okay. Well, I wasn't muted, and Zoom doesn't do a nice job of noise canceling as Meet seems to. So
Yeah,
weird.
you just fixed a bug in the real time. Not a
Yeah,
nice
look at that.
job.
This has been a really useful call, actually.
I'm actually kind of nervous about this because I don't use headphones. I just have a separate stereo microphone set up with regular things, and with the noise canceling, I never have to worry about it crosstalk. But I might have to today in Zoom. We'll have to find out.
Yeah, but also if you use the microphone and the headphone together, sorry, different devices, a lot of time there is a lot of issues.
I think that we can start. If someone else will join the conversation, I don't know how we can proceed. If you had time to, I see Tyler that left a lot of interesting comments and suggestions. I don't know if you have time to read all the blog post, Chris and Marsh.
Yeah, I've read it a couple times. Yeah.
Okay. And how you would like to proceed? I share the screen. I don't know. Yeah, I can share the screen. Yeah.
So,
no.
Just a couple things.
Yeah.
One is that this is a community post, and you don't need to make everybody happy. This can be an opinion piece, and so we're welcome to give you feedback, and you can decide what to do with it. It's a good piece as it is, and hopefully we can give you feedback to help make it better. But you don't have to satisfy anyone. So this is on you to decide when you're done. I just wanted to set that clear. That's actually part of the reason I didn't add comments into your document is that they don't seem fair in some ways. Like some of them, it's a well-written piece already, right? So but let's talk through it anyway. And I think if you just want to walk us through and go through the comments that are there, and we can decide to either if there's anything more that needs to be said or go forward. Does that make sense to you? I mean, that's what the process is supposed to be.
Thank you. I for my point of view, I wrote that blog post to gather your feedbacks about the idea that is behind the blog post. My object is not to write the blog post, but just to gather all the idea that I have in mind during my experience, and I try to explain better that I'm able to explain during the code. Yeah. But during the writing, when you write, you have new idea. If someone else say, okay, this is a good idea, but have you think about that? Then I try to gather that feedbacks and include in the blog post. And if you agree and the blog post is more or less is fine, I would like to use this hour to understand if the main concept is something that you what do you think about the main concept of the blog post? The idea of the platform engineering plus. I don't know how to call this stuff. Platform engineering, in my opinion, is still a lot of time DevOps and the infrastructure. We are a software vendor. Every time a new prospect comes and say, okay, we are looking for platform engineering and we want to implement platform engineering. We are looking for a product to implement platform engineering. I want to create an infrastructure as code. They start from that part. Or I want to deliver infrastructure to my developer team. It doesn't focus on deliver a library, SDK, or a data product, or a machine learning data model, the model, sorry. And this and I look at the white paper and the also other commercial blog posts, and at the end, platform engineering is the new DevOps. But is my, is something that is what I feel is not the true, maybe, but it's what I feel. Yes.
So I'm going to recommend we use hand raises to jump in and try that way, because it's hard to do this in a free form mode. And and you touched on what I thought was a great place to start too. I hesitated on the title you chose, platforms plus platform engineering plus. Was that it? Right? Is that what? Yeah. Platform.
Yes.
So I'm sure we can. But titles are hard, right? There was 3 things I was going to kick off with just from my own perspective. One was the title, I think, doesn't speak to the piece yet, so room for improvement there. The second piece is, as Tyler pointed out at the very top, having trouble finding the core message of this blog post. I also struggle with that a little bit, and I think I was in part confused by, at the end, there's a twist that comes, which is you introduce AI and LLMs and what they imply to the developer experience. And I wondered, in fact, if that should be a separate blog post. Like if we're going to focus on what does it mean to have platform engineering, what is this thing we're trying to identify to each other? I felt like the conclusion was swapped in for LLMs at the very end, and I don't think that was the point you were trying to make. And so I wonder if it's a stronger piece to leave that as a separate spot. But Chris, you also had your hand up, so please go.
Yeah, so very, very similar. I was I think focusing on platform engineering isn't actually what you want to talk about, right? You're talking more about the evolution of platform engineering. I think you're talking more about platform as a product, because platform engineering has been around for ages, right? And depending on the size of your organization, you'll hear this from me a lot. This is the thing, what I'm bringing to the community. We're bringing a different perspective from organizations that are large enterprises, right? Maybe in smaller organizations, you only have one platform team, one platform engineering team. But if you're a larger organization, especially in the corporate world, especially in the financial services world, you're going to have lots of different platform engineering teams. Some of those could have been around for a long, long time already, right? I think of our Red Hat team, our Wintel team, our database team, our storage team. Those are all platform engineering teams who have been enabling things for decades, right? Our mainframe team, our core team that look after kind of the core banking engine, the middleware team. These are all platform teams that have existed for, well, some of those have been around for 20, 30 years, right? Like our MQ team. What we're really trying to do here is change how they do things. And I think, you talked about the new DevOps. We're actually talking about a move from DevOps to GitOps. And so when we're talking about platform as a product, we're talking about the difference between the existing DevOps approach that these platform teams already use versus this new model that we're really talking about here, with the platform maturity model, with the GitOps driven type approach, golden paths, trying to get away from the ticket ops type mentality that they might have in the past. And to be honest, I'm not really seeing that in detail in your piece. Really at the start, talking about this is kind of where we've come from, this is where we want to go to. So that would have been one of my comments, right? Because I'm very much like Marsh. I don't want to comment on your piece because it's your piece, what you've written. But what I would do is I would comment on it and actually say, so kind of here's my take. This is where we're coming from. This is where we're going to. I think someone else kind of said that at the start, that they're having trouble finding your core message. So what is that core message right at the start? I think that's probably the bit you need to be a bit stronger on, right? What is it you're here to talk about and why? Because you said it there, right? You said it earlier. Yeah, Julio.
Yeah.
You said you want to explain what is this new thing.
Yeah. Sorry, I see the.
No. Please go. I wanted to give you a chance to go next, so please go. It's your meeting.
Thank you. Yes, interesting. I agree with you that AI is something for as next step, and the idea is in the post is if you are able to have an holistic view of your platforms, plural. You and the platforms are using, we can say, code and plain text configurations to describe the platform, you are able to do a deep dive on the platform using a conversational interface. And it is why I added this part, because in that way you reduce the barrier between business and IT, and governance and security, and privacy people that are able to access to that platform that tie together applications, pipelines, infrastructure, data, API, and so on and so forth. That the core message is this one. I don't want to. In my idea in that blog post is not to say, okay, platform engineering now is this, in the next future will be that, but platform engineering is still here for years, but are different point of view. And now when we speak about platform engineering, we are just focusing on infrastructure and DevOps, and that's it. Not data, not API, not applications. This is my core message. And why? This is why platform engineering is infrastructure and DevOps plus data platform plus composability of the applications. But I understand that is not clear. Yeah.
So I was gonna on a point Chris made, and it's come up through other conversations and is touched on in this piece, is the platform or platforms concept, and that's a big one.
Yeah.
Right. But I think that also could be a separate post. I think, how do we narrow this down to be actionable? I think there's a theme coming up, just you're listening to you talk, listening to others already on this and responses in the doc, which is, it's something like what we call platform engineering is more than DevOps. It isn't just DevOps plus. Platform engineering is about the software development lifecycle. I think there are other ways to frame what this is if we want to change the conversation that invites what is a platform of platforms, and what role does AI play in these kinds of things. Like I can see separating that out into 3 separate pieces potentially. Tyler, you had your hand next.
Hey, thank you. So I have like a logistical question for this. Maybe I should look at this offline. I'm not sure, but for community posts, is there a guideline on standards and requirements that I could look at that I probably have not looked at?
I'll ping you.
Okay.
I'll ping it to you. You're in the Slack? I'll find it. And
yeah, I'm in CNCF. This is just my name, Tyler Pate.
Great. Thanks.
I just wanted to mirror some of the things that Chris said. I think that the view of platforms is very dependent upon the size of your organization, and also like the history and like the length of time it's been around. And even a different team inside of your company who thinks they are the platform team may not have the same abstraction that the cloud native team or the application native team does. If you're a database team or a mainframe team from yesteryear, now you're looking at the cloud native aspects, and even the perceptions of what these teams are different inside of the teams. So this is definitely one view that you're proposing here, but I don't think it's universal across all enterprises and all sizes of companies. And that may be worth calling out. But I think the discussion that Marsh and Chris have going on here is fantastic. And I agree with the points being discussed.
Okay. Yeah, but I have some experience with large enterprises that are creating a platform for simplify the developer experience between several different business units all around the world. The idea is not to centralize the decision, but to have a common place where you want to create a new component, a runtime component, like a payment gateway. You know that you can publish it in that marketplace, internal marketplace, that component, and other people can reuse that part. I don't know how to call this. I call it we say platform engineering plus. This is the problem that I will want to solve. Yeah.
We call it inner sourcing, right? And we're using the inner sourcing model to get other people to contribute to the platform. So I mean, some of you have heard me talk about it before. So we use Syntactics to do that, right? The whole concept of having the promises. We can have platform teams, true platform teams, like our public cloud team, creating a promise. It's all about an EKS cluster. We can have our digital team who look after the developer experience and that side of things. create a promise that's all about how you publish applications into like EKS. And then we have an actual platform as a product team who bring those building blocks together and create a product that's our managed EKS product that's got the ability to deploy applications and do things that the customer does. And once we roll that out, other teams can contribute through the inner sourcing model to actually adding features to that, right? So it's not one team trying to do everything. It's a federated model across the business to do that. And it doesn't, to your point, it doesn't stray into all the application stuff, but what it does do is give that kind of guide rails, and it lets those teams, you know, do their application stuff themselves, right? So it's like, you know, here's the on-ramp, here's the onboard into the platform, now go and use it. I think there's lots of different use cases out there, Julio. You're not every company is going to do it in a very prescribed manner, like a PaaS type offering. You must do it this way. And one team does it centrally. Larger places are probably going to break that up and federate it. And when you break it up, it gets harder to orchestrate those things. So it's not one team, it could be many teams. And when you've got many teams, it does take a lot longer, but it also helps with solving the problems, right? Because the key message there is we can't solve all the problems anymore. We've got to recognize that the app developers are also part of solving some of these problems, or other parts of the business. Yeah, I like the way you talked about the different teams. Like you've got data, ML, API teams involved, and that's how you create solutions. I think that's true, right? That reflects what we do. We've got lots of different divisions pulling in their strengths to help create this end-to-end customer application. Doesn't mean one team, the one furthest to the left, is the one pulling all that together. It's a very different model that we're now trying to follow.
May I add, Marsh? Okay, thank you. The model of the platform, I try to compare that with a library, and I use the words create, curate, and compose in some part of the blog post. The idea is that the inner source approach can be defined as so there are some people that are creating something that other people can compose and use that part, and in the middle you have people that are creating that part, and for me that is the platform engineer with several different skills. And the platform is the place where people are collaborating, creating new items, data products, API products, infrastructure products, and other people are using that composing to create an application. And I don't know if this is is an inner source. I see. I'm not sure. Yes, inner source is a good option, but a lot of time inner source, in my view, is that you are thinking about a new library, new source code, like a GitHub approach, not a data product that you can. I don't know. You expose the data about your customers as an API. And all other items, all other business units can consume that data for their usage. This is something that is published inside the inner source approach. My question is a question.
Yeah, well, if you sorry, Marsh, you've
no, go ahead. I'll wait. No, please.
So if you've got an omni repo approach, right, then all the code for the platform is observable. Everyone can see it, they can touch it, they can look at how that problem's been solved, and they can do a request to actually go and contribute to that and change it. So, you know, if they decide that they would like some other feature in their EKS cluster that the platform team hasn't done, if they've got the bandwidth, they can see the code, they can, you know, fork it, test it, get something up and running, and then merge that back in, put in that request. And it's up to the platform team if they want to take that and apply it into the product. So you've suddenly, these central teams that might be resource constrained can now have people in these other teams helping solve the problems, because we're not at the stage anymore of public cloud adoption being new to everyone. Most organizations have already got their, you know, they've put their toe in the water, they've got experience, they've been doing it for a number of years, so they now have people in their business units that can help. Whereas, take the clock back 5 years ago, they probably didn't have those skills or experience, but now they do. it's a, you know, what you're describing here is a different thing, right? It's not the view of 5 years ago where lots of people didn't have those skills and you had to have central teams doing it. Now you're really talking about, okay, we've got these skills in the org, so how do other people contribute?
Mm-hmm.
And that, to be honest, your library analogy, I think Abby said it, right? I got it. It made sense to me what you were trying to say. You know, you've got these different bits that you can compose together to create products. Yeah?
Yep.
The creation's only one part, though. I'll better stop in a second because Marshall's got his hand up. But
yeah,
you know, creation is only one part. Support is the other. And that was maybe one of my last comments I was going to make is you don't really talk about the support aspect here. It's, you know, so maybe you're thinking that that's just done by that central platform team. But that's actually really complicated when you try and do an end-to-end solution that includes all those different areas you talked about, like data, AI, ML, you know, API. Those could be different teams in different orgs. So how do you support that?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, that's a great place for me to jump into, because you can see all kinds of platforms when you start looking for them, right? So a design system is a kind of platform for repeatable UI. And I don't think of that as a core role of what we call platform engineering, but I think it should be. I think the maturity model was built to consider what are the kinds of things that all platforms, not just infrastructure as a service type platforms, need to hew to. So I think that is a theme that's come out of this working group over the last year, and a great one to amplify. I think Julio, how do you pronounce your name? I want to make sure I'm saying it right.
Julio.
Julio. Okay, sorry. Julio.
No problem.
Okay. The thing I think is going to be tricky for you, because you've got, I think your whole company has a viewpoint on centralizing, is going to be balancing this, like with all of these different platforms emerging at different levels of the organization. How do you not create a whole set of islands that are disconnected from each other? There are journeys that need to happen between them. And I think part of what you've been focused on is figuring out how do you connect these things. So I think the platform story is a really strong one in here. Mm-hmm. So I think, again, I'm back to the thing I said earlier, so sorry if I repeat myself. The like platform engineering is more than just infrastructure as a platform. That needs to be established. What is the centralizing force when you've got many platforms? Because that's a different level of problem. You're really talking about a scope that involves the entire software development lifecycle and the specific culture of development that any organization has. And then, and that's, I think, there's a general principle. I wouldn't call all of this inner sourcing in the way that Chris did. I think inner sourcing comes into this a lot, for sure. I think inner sourcing is an interesting aspect of the fact that what's weird about internal platforms is that you don't have any external competition, or rather, the external competition doesn't think of you as competition in the same way, right? It's not a commercial competitor. It is a solution competitor. And that just changes the incentives here, because now all of a sudden you're not worried about your proprietary technology leaking out into the world. You're much more worried about getting contributions from other engineers internally solving the same problem. And so inner sourcing is a really powerful sort of tool to apply in the internal market context. But I'd hesitate to reframe it as inner sourcing. I don't know if that's what you were suggesting, Chris. I think they're complementary.
No, I wasn't. I was just saying inner sourcing is part of our solution on how we solve some of these problems.
That's what I thought. I just wasn't sure how far you were taking it. Cool, thanks. That helps me.
I mean, the one thing that you just said there. Sorry, should have raised my hand.
No, please.
One thing you just said that we classified all our work, right? And we think about what things are for business units to go off and do themselves, right? Existing platform teams in the business units, just go off and do that. What things are we going to do kind of so that it's self-hosted, self-managed, self-engineered? What things are we still going to do centrally that's kind of ticket ops? And what things are going to fall into the platform as a product area? Because not everything is applicable to platform as a product. And, I think that's a really hard thing to get that message across to people, that this new world is not a silver bullet, right? Not everything is suitable for this model. And it's recognizing what things are, and what things you should just do your existing way. And that to me is that's part of the librarian's job, to use your analogy, Julio, right? Is the library is there to guide. You come in to the library and say, I would like to do, I would like a book on X, or I would like to do this. And they're able to tell you, go down to row 26, book number 1, 2, 3, 4, that's what you want to do, right? Those are the golden paths, the patterns, right? The books that have got all that information. But instead of it being books now that you have to go and do yourself, those are actually already pre-baked products. And so it's much more about, the IDP is going to guide you towards select that, use that. So your analogy does work, right? I do get it. But at the same time, how do other people put their own books onto that shelf? Or how do they insert pages where, they found that some things they want to do them differently?
Yes, and I have another analogy. If I may share my screen, I would like to share some slide about the keynote that I had during the platform sphere about these aspects. I haven't included that part in the blog post, but maybe is missing that part in the blog post. I don't know. I go very fast.
By the way, that's okay. Can I just jump in? Like, I don't think did you mention the talk I think you may have mentioned that you gave the talk in the post, but if the video of the talk is online, you're welcome to link to it.
No, we haven't registered nothing.
Okay.
It's the first edition. Yeah, we don't have anything. We just have the slides that we need to publish still on the website. This is a subset of the slides. The idea of the platform, I try to simplify in that way. Yeah, but common aspects of several different applications that tie together, share some aspects, software lifecycle, teams, infrastructure, toolchains, and whatever. And thanks to that, you can create a platform, and the platform is a common place where are several different roles involved. And I use the concept of creator, composer, and curator. The creator is something that are creating the building blocks for the platform, and the composer are using the building blocks to create like this drawer, and can create a box of drawers. It's the idea that you have creators, composer. In the middle, you have who is owner of the platform engineers that provide tools and a place, a shop floor where people, creators and composer, can share together the value. This is what is behind the blog post. I haven't clarified this aspect. I tried to create another analogy, another way to explain using the library, but I don't know if it's much more easy to understand this. And starting from that, I say, okay, but in the platform, you have then different life cycle. Every time a composer creates a new element, it can be another element to create elements more complex. And here is your marketplace. Then you can create elements until the kitchen. Every time, then this is why I'm envisioning one platform for a company that is not a tool, is more we can say a concept. Every time I create a new element, software element inside the company, I want to publish in that platform because people can benefit from that element and reuse that element and prove that element and create new elements that are much more composed together, create much more value. Every time you have a balance during the close of the year of the company, you have CapEx and OpEx. And the CapEx is the platform. I don't know, that is the point why it's not just a question of technology.
So I think there are two metaphors. The one that's in the piece about the librarians, and there's another here where platform engineers are curators. Both of these, thinking about curators are tastemakers to some degree, right? They're deciding which of these things are important or reinforcing to emphasize. And I think there's some aspect of curators in platform engineering. I'm saying I part of me is drawn to the metaphor, and part of me at the same time is thinking, yeah, but it's what we're talking about is how do the curators make it easier for creator journeys, right?
Yeah, and the composer also.
Yeah. And so the challenge here to me is that curators don't make the creation of art easier, and so it feels like that break. And so maybe I'm taking the metaphor too literally. I struggled a little with the librarian metaphor because again, it didn't feel like the librarians were making writing books easier or better, like improving the quality of bookmaking or book writing even.
Yeah.
And so that's where the metaphor, maybe the answer there is to just diffuse objections by calling them out. Because I do think there can be power in the metaphor. Just that's the part that I got hung up on. It's like, oh, well, yeah, I was immediately drawn to the opposite side of why the metaphor wasn't working for me. And so that was just my own reaction to it. You're welcome to do with it as you like. That was me. I might be weird. I am weird, actually. So.
Thank you.
So, I mean, the one thing I was going to say about that is that you don't mention products, right? But you are calling them composers. And I think, when we're talking about platform as a product, the composers are creating the products and they're maintaining those. And the decision that any company's got to make is your catalog that you're going to expose to your creators. Are you going to expose the individual components to them and let them wire those up themselves and go into backstage and orchestrate those themselves? Or are you just going to give them those fully fledged products and your composition happens kind of outside of that portal, right? What is it that you're trying to expose and what is it that you're trying to achieve as your objective? For us personally, we've skipped the component level, right? We probably went a year or two in front of other people. We don't care about individual components and exposing those. We care about exposing fully fledged products that people can use. That's where we see the value. And, we don't want a catalog that's got 2,000 components in there for people to go and select, right? We already do that with Terraform modules. So we've got millions of lines of Terraform code. What we want to do is abstract all of that away, reduce the developer cognitive load and say, if you're a Java developer and you want to publish to a cloud platform, select this product. If you want to publish a single page web app, select this product. And it'll go and build all of that out for you, right? So I think it's about that level of abstraction and cognitive load you're trying to reduce, rather than just exposing a catalog of parts.
Yeah, but a part can be of different kinds depending on the layer of the platform. We can say it can be a pipeline, can be a runtime infrastructure, can be a database, can be a widget for a web component. Depends, and but at the end they have a life cycle. Every item has a life cycle. Every item can be composed. Every item has a quality assurance model. And I think that the container of that items and how you created the item and published that item and how you can compose that item is up to the platform engineering.
So we say it's not up to the platform engineering, and we say that's up to the platform as a product team. And that's maybe where we've got a different take.
No, sorry again, because maybe I'm missing something with the English. Sorry, maybe I answered that. Can you rephrase it because I haven't understood?
Yeah. So I think you use platform engineering team, where I think of lots of platform engineering teams and the librarian above them, right? So the librarian is responsible for publishing, not the individual platform teams.
I got it.
They can submit, They can submit individual components and they can contribute individual components, but they're not the ones publishing fully fledged products.
Good question. Because in the librarian here is who is for my library is the place where the magic happens. People are sharing ideas, writing new books, starting from idea of other books that I've taken during the librarian, connecting in each other at the coffee. You know, that is a place, the platform. Yeah.
But in a library, the librarian is the person that puts the book on the shelf, not the person who wrote it.
Yeah, that's correct. Also, in that analogy, in that one, platform engineer, in my opinion, are not the person that is creating the infrastructure as code or the pipeline, but are people that are creating that pipelines and provide that pipeline in an easy way to users that can be creators and composers. Then is not you still have IT operation, SRE. And I don't like DevOps engineers because DevOps is approach is not a work, but people that are creating pipelines, you know, and people that are data engineers, machine learning engineers, and platform engineers are creating the scaffolding where someone else can publish. I like the promises approach. I can create a promise. It's an interface. You have to feel as a creator that promise with the correct implementation. I don't know. It is why I say, okay, yeah, they doesn't write the book. Yes.
What I like about the librarian analogy is that librarians really are curators of knowledge. Like they understand, like you can come in with a question, you don't know where to go, and a librarian will help you find your way. That's really powerful. That's magic. And I feel like the platform engineering team is the platform engineering is expressing opinions on the way the organization will do things. That's a really serious role. And that is the kind of you not only should you have those opinions, it should be obvious to others later why you made those choices too, I would think. And so, that to me is the curation and stewarding of how your company builds software, and that's incredibly powerful. So anyway, I just wanted to I know I gave some criticism of the analogy. I think there's some deep power in there, and it's a fresh one. So thanks. I have to drop in a few minutes to prep before another meeting. But is there anything else you wanted to go through in terms of the document itself? We didn't really get we got hung up, not hung up, but we got talking about the meta problems that we're all facing with, and less about the specifics of your piece.
Yeah, but my goal is this one. To start to understand, good. This is what the goal. Then, first of all, understanding if is correct from your opinion, say platform engineering plus or link to an existing term like platform of platforms, this feature. Because this is one of the main questions that I had in my mind. I don't know.
And I don't think, by the way, I don't think it's either. To me, I think it's to me, this is about how do you build software? And how do you make repeatable journeys is kind of what platforms exist to do. And then as you have multiple platforms, and Chris, I think was speaking well to this earlier, that you should expect they're going to spring up in lots of places. And how do you facilitate the journeys between those things that if necessary? And then, so to me, again, it's like, what is a platform? It's not just infrastructure, a layer on top of infrastructure as a service. What are the platform journeys? That's a really big and interesting one. And I know Colin's been trying to agitate that to get us talking about that too. So that's great. Both of those things are huge. Like, gosh, if we could tell either one of those stories in the remainder of this year, it would be great.
Okay. No, because I will join the platform, we can say, discussion at the end, because I think that is the natural way to proceed after that part. But my question is, but do we need a platform or platform? Or is enough platform? And the platform has a different layer.
Yeah. Right. By the way, these are great questions. If nothing else, we write down the questions that came up today. I think it would be fun. Tyler, you had your hand up, but it came down again. Did you want to jump in?
Yeah, well, I can jump into this one, which is, should we think about it as platform of platforms or just a platform? And this is actually something very interesting to me because it's very, very hard to talk about platforms, obviously. And one of the things about the platforms of platforms concept is trying to increase effective communication around, platforms themselves. If I go to talk to a leader in my company, it's very hard for them to understand what the difference between X platform versus Y platform and how they fit together. And I think that's the core of the platforms of platforms discussion piece. I think it's all about personas and slices of the interest. And we talked about curators and things like that and how we want to, on a cloud native platform, curate a good experience for developers. But I actually maybe come at it from a different perspective. I think each layer of a platform is designed to solve a local problem in the best way possible. So a data platform might care about having an extremely high throughput of data pipelines or activity. And a cloud native platform actually may be focused on the reliability and day two operations of the cloud native services that are run. And then yet from a developer experience perspective, they care about having a seamless flow and a fast bootstrap time and easy access to the tooling. But why do we talk about any of these things? Well, we need a decision maker to either understand what we're doing. We need a decision maker to make a choice or choose between different options. And so I think actually thinking about platforms of platforms, we should simplify the number of layers and reduce it to the sort of like the core level of dependencies. So like I'll provide an example. I'm on a team that does cloud native application delivery. And so when I think about like layers of platforms that are dependencies, I think about my layer, I think about the cluster or infrastructure layer beneath it, and I think about foundational services. And in that sort of like small view into the model of the full team's platform, I'm able to have more effective conversations with leaders about how dependencies are important and how I'm solving for a local problem, which is optimizing the reliability of cloud services. And so that's like sort of my take on the platforms of platforms concept, trying to figure out how we can more effectively communicate to leaders who need to make decisions about these things, the dependencies between them and how they interact.
Yeah. Yes, in my experience, every time you launch a new project, and I try to summarize here the concept here. New project, you spend money to create software, will take a lot of time. You spend money to create a software, and the success of the project is that you have in constant time the features. You switch to products to have a life cycle, but every time you create a new product, software product, maybe you create something that can be reusable by others. And it is, I added the platform concept as a main asset for the company. I don't know, is something that I was wondering. Maybe I have write something different. Also, I just to summarize. I don't know if you have. Okay, we have still some time, but you have to go. Then okay, go, Marsh, please.
No. Yeah, I may have to drop for this. I'll try to stay and listen as long as I can. I just wanted to riff on what Tyler was saying, because as you were talking, I was thinking about, look, how do we, just to pop us out a level of we're going to go more meta for a second. Yeah, I like the idea of thinking about this as local problems. How do we all talk to each other and communicate in real time like we're doing now, where we're using Zoom to do that? How do we organize it? Well, we used a calendar. How did we even understand that there was interest in doing that? There was Slack to talk about this, and GitHub is the ledger of where the work happens, and sort of where you put a stake in the ground and say, this is what we're doing. Like, to me, these were all local problems. There was a journey that we had to connect ourselves. In some ways, I see a mirroring of the challenges you're going to face when you're developing software. It was just interesting to think about these specific solutions that emerge to solve local problems, and then the journeys that need to happen between them. And then how do you make those repeatable? In fact, that's maybe the problem we have today, is that we don't have a way of doing this. We borrowed the fact that there's an every other week calendar meeting, so that's a slot that might be open, and a consistent way of all joining the same meeting and knowing which one to join. So I thought it was fun to think about how weird and similar these problems are at different levels.
Just a question. Then you suggested to remove or to reduce this part about AI on top of the platform as a.
I was suggesting that getting into the. I think what role does AI play in these platform journeys is super good. In some ways, AI can be that sort of the librarian, the face. Like a librarian is a deeply personal.
Companion to the brand. Yeah.
A librarian is tailoring the information that you're looking for to your needs and trying to understand how to help you on your way. And I think that's very difficult to scale, and LLMs can help with that. But I think that alone is a piece right there, is the curation role of platform engineering and how LLMs can help them scale.
Yeah. I know that is too short at this part. I don't want to extend it. Is another
No,
you suggest to remove it?
Yeah. I was saying remove it simply because I thought you were building to a specific point from the beginning, and then at the end, LLMs got introduced, and my alarms went off simply because everyone seems to be jamming AI into everything these days. It's fashionable, and I thought you'd just done it to me again, and I don't think that was your intent. It took away from the platform engineering as being more than infrastructure or the platform story. I got to a third story at the end, and because it was at the end, I thought that was the point. So that was the confusion I had.
Yeah. Okay. Got it. And this part is, I know the Tyler says, like, I don't understand why you say convergence. I don't know. Because I read all the aspects, and I don't know if I think that there is a convergence between white paper, maturity model, and platform. But if it's confusing, I can remove also this part. I don't know.
Like if I think about and look at that diagram that shows the convergence of all these pieces, it almost feels like we're just looking at. To me, I look at that and I think this is just like the business functions of a software company, right? It's almost like I don't know. The value that we get in this convergence idea, I'm confused about. I guess that's the way to put it. Yeah, and I think overall, like it's not to say that you should remove this. Like I think there is great content throughout the entire piece, but I think each of these sections almost feels disconnected from the next, right? And so, like when I talk about core message and the audience, I'm still not 100% sure who the target audience for the post is. And I'm still unsure of the strong core message. And I agree with Marsh and others where some of these sections could be broken out into individual, pieces of writing themselves. But I think about the attendees in this group, we probably all, this is my first actual meeting here, but I've been reading the working group, or I've been reading stuff in the working group and the papers for a while. And I've been working on these problem spaces for many years. And, I'm very aware of what the platform engineering is and like how to think of it conceptually. And so for me personally, I don't get a ton of value out of looking at the abstractions or out of the metaphors because I come to the table already understanding. So I think clarifying who the audience is would be a great way to move forward here. I think clarifying the message would be great. But I also don't want to be too critical or anything like that. I try to be as effective as possible in writing, and this is all about increasing effectiveness of messages.
Okay, thank you, Tyler. No, I understood the point. I would like to keep the metaphor because I think that it is useful to clarify to other people. If you read the blog post, they want to introduce someone that is not used to platform engineering, maybe useful. I don't know. If you can, otherwise you can skip. I had another section because I have some questions during the review. I would like to answer directly here at the end of the blog post. If you have that kind of question, I try to answer directly in the blog post. I don't know if it's an idea. I take the Tyler question and other question. What do you think? Is a good idea?
So my take on this is that the writing in the post should answer this question for the reader. And normally I wouldn't include a Q&A at the end such that the reader has to read all the way to the Q&A to get that message, right? The point of the writing is to deliver that message from the beginning and throughout the piece. And so the feedback is not let's add more content to explain that further. I think the feedback is let's tighten up the message throughout the post such that the reader knows this answer already without having to be without having to have it in a question and answer area. I think that's I think that's the main feedback, right? Is like the reader should know this or should be able to understand it without going to the Q&A at the end.
Okay.
Remember, it's your opinion piece as well, right? So it's about your opinion. So what, you know, if you go back to some of those Q&As, you know, this approach valid for greenfields or large enterprises, right? Well, that's for your opinion to put across what you think it's appropriate for, right? I've got my view. I'm sure you've got your view, but that's what will generate some good comments to the blog post, right? And some different views will come out of that. So yeah, make sure you publish an opinion, right? Because the opinion is what drives debate.
Yeah. Okay. Yes, I start from scratch. Then you know, then is I have an opinion. Yes. Okay. I had also, I don't know, the disclaimer. I think that is useful for doing cross, and if for someone that is not aware about white paper, and is a way to say, okay, you have, if you want to read more, start from here. The idea is this one.
I wouldn't call it a disclaimer. I would just, you know, it's kind of background reading, whatever you want to call it, right? But disclaimer is the wrong word. Disclaimer would be if you were selling a product, right?
Sorry,
you work for a company.
Yes. Yeah, because I started to write, then I don't know which is the title. I put disclaimer, but you suggested that I missed the word. You suggest to call it
background reading. References, background reading.
Oh, reference. Reference. References. Okay, thank you. Okay. If it's okay for you, I would like to thank people at the end for review feedbacks. I will ask. Then I will do the pull request on GitHub. Then, if you want. Okay. Thank you, Marsh. Okay. Thank you.
Does it do it?
Thank you, please.
No. Sometimes it works.
If you have the Mac, you have to enable the. I discovered that you have a way to enable on the MacBook. It's not on the.
It works. I'm on my iPad, so it works 50% of the time for me. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. I think that the hour is finished. I really like that conversation. I'm sorry for my English. Sometimes it's not so easy for us.
So good.
But thank you.
This would have made a much shorter conversation if I had to have an Italian. So I thought you were amazing.
Okay. I hope that we can see you soon. But in KubeCon in November. I don't know. Maybe.
Possibly. I'm still trying to get funding.
Also for us, I'm not sure, but if we can come in US, we will send a message and they'll say, okay, we can meet.
It'd be nice to meet in person.
Yes,
Zoom is only so good. The least common denominator.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for your time.
Hey,
I really appreciate it.
Also, thank you for. So I would like to thank you for two things. One is that pushing this conversation, which needs to happen, but we never make time for it. You forced the issue, which is awesome. And I thought you really, the way you listened and invited people to give their opinions was also. We need more of this in the world. So really, thank you for driving the conversation. It was. It needs to happen. We're not done yet. This is the beginning.
Yeah. I'm agree. Have a nice day for you. Yes, this morning. Yes, and or evening for peace. Yes. Bye. Ciao.
Ciao.